Gracious God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight. O you who are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. In going ahead and getting ready for these coming weeks, in all of the events and variety that there are between the congregations, I went ahead and got myself ahead and went, oh wow, it's this wonderful story of Paul and Silas. And then I went, oh wow, it's also Mother's Day. You remember Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other? Wow! Well, the only thing that could come to mind was a rock song from Dokken called Breaking the Chains, which a few of you actually remember. Thank you, 80s people. There are a few of us here. Yeah. The image of chains breaking. The image of coming out. The image of being strong and individual and on your own is an important one. Yeah. If that's what the story were about, that would make an easy sermon. But it's not the whole story. But it's a good part. Rather, the story involves more of this than it does that rock song. It involves this I actually purchased, let's see, right down this way, go down to 63rd in Portland and you pull into 7-Eleven. Why do I have to run down there at 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon? Just ask Zach to go get the little packet of 8 Band-Aids. That was him. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he grabbed, but sure enough, managed to cut himself somewhere here at church. So we went and got the Band-Aids, and they're in the car. Lots of things are in my car, but the Band-Aids are important. And no, if you're wondering, they're not Hello Kitty Band-Aids. Sorry. Not superhero Band-Aids. No, they didn't have Spidey. They just had regular old Band-Aids. But they were. All of us can have memories of Band-Aids that go back years and years. Because it wasn't always that we could put a Band-Aid on. Alright, there are days I can't put a Band-Aid on still on myself. Why won't it stick? Well, I just washed my hand, that would be why. Trying to put it on. One of the memories, the only memories I have of my mother, she passed away when I was 5, was her bandaging one of the fingers on this hand. The nail is, the finger itself has actually been lopped off. It's shorter than the one on the other side. That's a compliment of my brother David. He slammed the kitchen door so hard on my hand, crushed that one finger pretty badly. And I can remember her changing the bandage on that hand. I can remember my stepmother then changing different things and finding how fast we could drive to the emergency room. Right, that was a little more than a Band-Aid. My brother did that for me once. And then come to think of it, my aunt ended up having to do that for me one time. Stuck my finger in a running lawnmower. That was really good. It didn't work out as well to clear the clog of the grass as I had thought. I also remember when I did the burn on the back of my hand. Some of you know I had that when I came here. Everybody that I knew as a mom figure was out of the house. Amy had already moved down here. The kids were not up to changing that sort of a bandage, let's put it that way. And I certainly wasn't cooking after burning my hand, that was for sure. My son can remember when a neighbor, Miss Sheila, came and brought fried chicken. We were even talking about that today, when he broke his arm. And that was his great get better gift. Miss Sheila was just a neighbor. She wasn't part of our family. She was just a neighbor who did good neighborly things. But we still know on Facebook, as I took them to concerts this week, there's Miss Sheila liking the pictures and noticing all the way from Iowa. You know, the truth is, as we think of it, hopefully you've been doing what I think you've been doing, thinking about those people that have given you care over the years. Was it always a mom? Was it a big brother or a big sister? Was it a neighbor? Was it a neighbor's parent? Or even a grandparent? Who do you give care to? Probably more than you realize. Your friends, your partner. There's a lot of people that we give care to. So, let's get to the meat of it. How is a story of a jailbreak about care and Band-Aids? Well, we've got to look. There are two stories tonight combined into the one reading from Acts. Oh yes, I'm still stuck on Acts. Wonderful stories. One is a spirit of divination with this woman, where she's running around making money not for herself, but for somebody else. She's working for somebody else, and they are, let's say it, prostituting her for her abilities to tell the future, making money off of her with no benefit for herself. Paul does the unthinkable after she annoys him enough and removes the spirit from her. And that is how they land in jail. He cares enough for the freedom of that person, all right, eventually, that he's able to free her and break not their chains of enslavement that she claims, but hers. But the crux of tonight's story, that's how they get to prison. How they get out is a wonderful story of ministry and care. They get put in prison, and the jailer is charged with caring for them. Some translations actually have the word caring for them. Jailers caring for people does not exactly usually give us good images. Very poor, in fact. Certainly they would be no better then. But the opposite occurs. For during the night as they're singing after being flogged and beaten and humiliated for their beliefs, an earthquake comes. The jail opens up, all of the chains drop. The jailer, feeling as though he's failed, is ready to commit suicide rather than face what's going to happen to him, knowing that he has failed in caring for these prisoners. But oddly enough, nobody leaves. They take the opportunity to care for the jailer rather than see him be killed or kill himself. They stay put and prevent his death. He doesn't die. In fact, something amazing happens. He comes and asks, how do I get saved? How do I come to believe what you believe? Clearly, what you believe is much more powerful than anything I've experienced. And so he stops doing what he felt he had to do for a chance at life. And so Paul turns to his jailer and does three things. First, we get education. That this person must believe. And there's a time of education for them. For him, for the jailer, and for his family. Then the saving act of being baptized for his whole family. That is next. And then finally, they stay and they eat. And they live, they are with each other. There's a fellowship time. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? It does. We learn. We feel what it's like to be a part of a congregation, and then we fellowship. We fellowship. We take time, we eat together. Nice timing that we have that tonight. We spend time with each other and grow in the community of faith as we do that. this is exactly what Paul and Silas had the opportunity to do. And the jailer actually can finally care for them. In the story tonight we learn the jailer binds their wounds and tends their wounds. Remember, they're beaten and flogged before they're put in prison. So the jailer ends up caring for them as Paul and Silas minister to the jailer and his entire family. Care going both ways, all in the middle of a jailbreak. A jailbreak. A jailbreak is probably what most of us had to experience in some ways to get here. We had to break away from what we grew up with. We had to break away at some point from our families and live on our own time, in our own experience, and in our own way. And we're free. Yet we're not just free to go off on our own. There's more we have to do. We're now free to do as we wish. But we're not free. There's more to do. We're free to find a church where we can be loved and accepted for who we are. And yet, there's still care to give. We know on any given Sunday there's someone who's made it here for maybe the first time. Finally gotten to a cathedral of hope, where they're hoping to find love and acceptance and care. Something we found, some of us, years ago. Yet there's going to be somebody next week at the booth. Somebody next week at the parade who's still looking for that place where they can be loved and cared for. They may not find it at home. They may not find it as much in their own communities. We have a charge. We have to say, we are still here and willing to care. Willing to care for anyone who comes through our doors and reach out beyond our doors, as we will do so well next week with signs and posters and buttons and lots of necklaces, right? And reach out. Reach out to who? People who come up to our booth, of course. We've got a wonderful opportunity. But even reach out to those who may not want our materials, still remembering somebody rushing up to the one poor gentleman from Westboro Baptist who happened to be there, and you know someone will be there next week. And care. Offer love. As we have been loved by one another, those who care around us and can love us for who we are, and open our arms once again. For even if we are finally free of our chains, we are only free to love and care one another as God commands us to do. Amen.